Well, good evening, good afternoon, and hello to you. It's been a while since I've done a actual presentation. It's been very busy. June is just started, but it has been very busy as in real estate. Real estate is very busy May, June. For various reasons, mostly because people are trying to get themselves together for renewal. So, in this weekly webcast, again, I will actually be doing two session. Again, one from last week that I should have done, and then the other one for this week. So I know that again, I've always encouraged people to kind of chime in, but I have been very grateful that no one has actually subscribed as far as being wanting to join in with me on Friday mornings from 10 to 11:30 Eastern time because it's just been very busy. So I will start with some just jumping right in. This has been a very, like I said, busy time. People have so many different questions. I get questions all the time. And because I am just looking at the digital kind of questions or questions that people have emailed, people have called and asked about. So I wanted just to talk about those kind of questions that are on people's mind right now. So the first one is when will the new South Carolina forms go into effect? So South Carolina has some new forms that they are again that it goes into effect starting this month, June of 2025, and basically one of the things that I've been looking for the last 2 weeks. I know that they've again South Carolina Realtors Association, who creates the form, has been on. Again, they had a major conference about a week ago, and so they're kind of getting back into telling us what's happened in that conference where they went to Washington. And so they're telling us it will be June. Again, June is still it, but as far as when it will be released, they have not officially gave a actual release date for June. So kind of keep it, kind of keep it on your radar for the forms. The second question, I apologize, I went to a little bit too quickly, is the North Carolina forms. Again, North Carolina has new forms as well. These forms will go into effect in July. I have not officially seen the new forms or have done too much deep diving into the North Carolina new forms, but I can imagine, again, within the next week or so, we will be, again, all engrossed with these new forms that takes effect in July. So with these new forms, again, generally they give us a grace period. I believe it's about 60 to 30 days, but again, for those new deals, that are happening in South Carolina starting in June. Once the June forms are released, they're expecting you to start using those forms. And normally they're updated in your zip form as well as your dot loop, whatever you're using for forms. Same thing is true when it comes to North Carolina. North Carolina expect us to start using those forms for new transactions. So again, I'm moving forward. And then the third question that I am being asked, because I have people who are interested in starting a career in real estate. And a lot of times I think that people are, surprised. I think that they're surprised by the cost of starting a real estate career. And I normally tell people again to budget between $3,000 to $5,000 to kind of get their careers up, going, and started. So it depends also too where you start, how you start. There's a lot of factors, right? So again, there's a lot of factors. But if you're budgeting between $3,000 to $5,000, you should be able to overcome a lot of the challenges of getting your career up and going. So the first thing that most people need to kind of decide is education. Do I start with South Carolina? Do I start with North Carolina? Do I start in Georgia? Again, where do I start? And a lot of times people start where they live, and that can be, a way for you to kind of decide. If you are in a situation where you are in a state like North and South Carolina, where there is reciprocity, but the reciprocity is very different, right? So again, North Carolina reciprocity for South Carolina is very different from South Carolina reciprocity for North Carolina. So normally, when I'm talking to someone who is thinking about, being duly licensed in North and South, I normally ask one question. Again, a general question. Again, and it's just based upon their situation. First thing I'm asking, again, if you're living in South Carolina or in North Carolina, how many exams do you want to take? How many state board exams would you like to take? Most times people says, I want to take as less as I can to be able to, to get the license. Well, if that is the case, then starting with your South Carolina license and education, then going through the North Carolina will be much more beneficial because you're only taking one state board exam. So the state board exams, again, it can be $100. I think it's in North Carolina, I believe it's about $100 for application. And I can't remember if it's about 75 to $75 or so for your exam. Same thing for South Carolina. South Carolina application is about $25. However, your exam is about $63, and again, and your background check. Again, you have your background that you have to also kind of keep in mind as it relates to you getting licensed and meeting those requirements. So there is a lot that goes into it. So you have your education component. Again, how you're going to do your education. One of the things that people ask all the time, do I have to do a traditional classroom? No, you do not have to do traditional classroom. You can do an online self-paced class. This year, in July, we're starting to do a hybrid class, again, whereas part of it is online, part of it will be in class for South Carolina. And then again, so it just depends on education. So your education to get started will run you about $800. And it may be a little bit more depending on the state. Again, it could be a little bit more in North Carolina because not only do you have to finish your pre-licensing, you have your post-licensing course that you need to have as well. So education could be a little bit more expensive in the North. Doesn't mean that, again, in the South that we are escaped from education costs. Then I said it before, you have your application cost plus your examination plus a background check that is required. And then there are other memberships. So once you get your license, then there is membership if you're joining the National Association of Realtors. That cost can be up to, again, and in your MLS cost can be up to $1,500. So that is kind of getting you up and going for getting the license, getting the membership that you're needing to be able to have access to all the home listings and to be able to get into the homes. And then your company may have a cost. One of the biggest misconception when it comes to starting a real estate career, it is that this is a job. It is not a job. It is a career. And there's a difference between having a job and having a career. A career is a long progression, something that you kind of grow in, you build into. Whereas a job can have a job description. This is what we're hiring you to do. This is what this job costs. I'm sorry, this is what this job pays, and therefore this is this is where you're going as it relates to this role. A career can grow as you grow. A career can move the way you move. So again, some people, again, when it comes to the career aspect, that is one aspect that, again, a lot of people kind of there's that misconception. And then the other biggest misconception is that we are employees versus independent contractors. Most of us who come into the real estate career path are again, independent contractor. Independent contractor means that you're building a business. So no one is here to give anything. You're here to build a business. And so you're building a business under a business with a business. And so again, I think that is also the misconception. Not saying that you cannot be an employee. There are some times where you have individuals who are, an assistant. They may be working for a builder and where they are in that employee role. rule, but most of us, we're building a business, which means when you build a business, that's why I say it is more of a career, that it grows with you, it grows with your ambition, because of the fact that it can change over time as you change and develop over time. I hope that helps again, and understanding how a career again, or and again, starting in real estate. And I will say that it's not necessarily for everyone. I have people who call all the time and ask me, well, I think that, is this going to be a good career for me? Is this a good opportunity for me? And that is something that you have to answer. I can't answer that. You have to have, again, just some basic understanding. And I think that if you never had a business before, never been a part of small business, start researching it, what it takes to have a business and to do a startup business. So with that being said, again, hopefully that gives you some kind of layer of understanding of, real estate. Again, it's not a deep dive. It's just a very, generalized way of answering that particular question. So I'm going to go into my hot topics. My hot topics again of the from last week and the weeks have been coming along again has been about Georgia CEs, and then also where are we in our process of getting Georgia's continuing education courses approved, and things of that nature. And then also, again, our update as far as the new law changes, because again, Georgia has its own rules, its own new law changes that is coming about, or that is here. Again, that is going to be, that is upon us. So the first thing is last week. Last week we had three approved CE courses, and we're waiting to get three more courses approved. We and at Comps, we at Comps Academy, we will be adding a trio credit, no option in July. How this trio credit is going to work and how is it going to look, it's going to be very interesting to me because there's a lot of changes in all three states. There's a change in North Carolina, there's a change in South Carolina, there's changes that going on in Georgia. Every state is going through their own changes. And how do they play together is going to be very interesting. So right now, if you are a Georgia resident, again, there is a new law, new rule that has came about where you do not have to do any of South Carolina continuing education. But again, you still have to do education requirements for Georgia. So that means that again, for us on a trio kind of way, it will be that we will have a course title. That's a national course title that has been approved in three states. And no matter where you need, credit. So in that case, you only need to have Georgia credit. You do not have to have South Carolina credit. And so again, in that course kind of, again, environment, all three licensees can be attend and you just get credit for the Georgia because that's all you're needing. If you are in a resident of South Carolina and you need to get Georgia's credit, again, there is some kind of reciprocity between Georgia and South Carolina where again that you have this exemption to the rule. But if you took this class, you can get South Carolina credit. So this is how I think that the trio will work again, where whether you're in North, South, or Georgia, where you can get credit in either in one state if you need the one state or all three states in case if you do need the three state. But I think that again, the way it is going to be set up, it's going to look very different. If you are a North Carolina resident, will be, again, you will have to, again, there's no reciprocity right now with, again, when it comes to continuing education hours. Whether or not that will change in the next week or so, again, we're kind of keeping our ears to the ground about that. But again, if you're a North Carolina resident and have a North Carolina license, that means that you're going to be doing continuing education in South Carolina because again, because again, right now there's no reciprocity. And then you're maybe doing, again, education hours again for North Carolina. So again, there will be possibly a dual kind of situation going on, but we'll see how this works out. Again, right now, I think the states are going through its meetings on, again, whether or not we're going to have some kind of reciprocity or CE credits across the state lines. So that is something that we're going to keep our ears and eyes open. But in July, again, something I'm gearing up for July is how we're going to play across these three states, South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina. So right now we have, again, three national titles courses that can be offered. So, and that's exciting. It's so exciting because one, our school is very different than most. Again, that's a great thing. Again, we're different, and you want to be different in business. Again, we are able to cater to three states, and most schools are generally only able to cater to one state or maybe two states right now. Again, a lot of schools transition to two states. But us being able to kind of monitor and keeping our pulse on three different states, it is challenging. And it is something that we're excited about. It is something that we grow into. Again, just as I said earlier, again, the difference between a career and having a job, you get to grow. And this is my career. This is my real estate career. Building my real estate companies, so that way, again, I'm able to go where I want to go and to grow the way I want to grow. And that's a great thing of entrepreneurship. So, the second hot topic, again, as I said to you earlier, when it comes to the Georgia updates and the CE broker and the new laws. So again, as I said to you before, in Georgia, starting on July 1st, they are going to have to, again, if you have a broker license in the state of Georgia, again, Georgia has the salesperson's license and they have the broker license. So for those individuals who have broker license, they're going to be requiring you out of your 36 hours that you have to, when it comes to your continuing education requirements, that you have 18 hours that are broker specific classes. So that is something that we are, again, I'm trying to get my arms around, trying to get my first broker CE approved. I have a course that I'm hoping that will be able to meet the requirements of broker CE courses, law, so that way they can be able to be approved. But we'll see how this will play out. But 18 hours is required for, again, Georgia renews every 4 years. And so again, this is something that goes into effect on July 1st. And if you have to renew, whether it's in July, August, or September, if you renew early, you don't have to do any continuing education, this 18 hours that is required. Again, if you've completed all your hours, this is where you can renew early, and then you get to bypass completing the 18 new law requirements. But if you're renewing in October and beyond, that means that you are going to have to complete these 18 hours. And right now, again, if you go to the Georgia's Commission website, you can see other schools that are already approved for their broker CE courses. And so again, it is a slow process. Again, Georgia has been a slower process of getting things approved. We've been working through this since, I will say, April, trying to get all these different classes approved. And I know that they had a backlog during that time because of the new hours and the new requirements. And so right now, again, we're just being patient and waiting. And then, as I said to you before, South Carolina, a reciprocity with Georgia. Again, this came out at the ending of May, as I said to you before. It's been busy. It's been busy. May has been busy. June is busy because we're preparing for July. And yes, that is exactly what we're doing. We're preparing for July. So South Carolina has a reciprocity law that went into effect that says if you're a non-resident of South Carolina, if you're a non-resident of South Carolina living in Georgia, then you are only required to meet the requirements of Georgia, and South Carolina would, again, accept those hours only if you're a non-resident of South Carolina. If you're a South Carolina resident, South Carolina requires you to do and complete all of the South Carolina laws, again, CE requirements. Again, so 10 hours every 2 years as a resident. So again, as a resident, there's no escaping of South Carolina continuing education. So, as I said to you before, again, holding license in these three states, again, it can be very challenging. Again, knowing, again, Georgia, 4 years when it comes to renewal. Every 4 years they're renewing, and their renewal dates, again, is on a running calendar. It's based upon when that licensee got their license. So it's like every month, this is someone's fourth year. So that is very interesting to know. In South Carolina, we renew every other year on June 30th. And then in North Carolina, we renew every year on June 30th. So again, it is something that is very interesting to know, and keeping all these hours up and, understanding the new laws, the new rules, all those great things. It is, how I say, complicated. So, with that being said, that is what's happening again with the CE broker. I'm sorry, the CE, the broker CEs that are in Georgia, understanding that the new law goes into effect on July 1st. And again, that there is that new law that has came out from South Carolina for that reciprocity. So if you're a Georgia resident and completing all of Georgia's requirements, which again is a lot, again, 36 hours, but they have 4 years to get that done. South Carolina is going to accept that as South Carolina requirements. I do, again, I know it sounds like Vonnie just wants people to have more education. But one of the things that I found this year, teaching classes from with people from different state, that people really don't know South Carolina state laws. And it's really interesting because they know all the laws in the state that they're in, but if they're going to have a license in this state or any state, you should be very, very well versed in those state laws, and knowing that each state laws are very different. And I think that's something that I had to learn that the hard way, dealing with real estate and owning real estate in in different states. But also, if you're going to be representing people, I think that is important for you to know, what is the law, because that's why they're hiring you. They're hiring you to be an expert, a competent individual to help them to navigate through their real estate transaction. But that is just me. Again, they didn't ask me for my opinion, but I think that if they, at least people would go through the core requirements, again, that core class or that mandatory class that the commission creates, even if they waive elective hours, again, I think that will be something wise for each state to hold tight to. Anyways, as I said to you before, I am behind in my putting together and coming together and talking about what's happening. So I will be coming back again later on today, again talking about the new South Carolina real estate forms, and then again on the 20th, I will be talking about the North Carolina form and giving you an update of what's happening there. If I hear anything, again, keep my ears to the ground for North Carolina. But again, for now, again, it's been great. I hope that this has been helpful for you as you're learning about real estate and thinking about real estate, or if you have questions about real estate, again, and you can always send your questions to questions@compsacademy.com. You can subscribe to this, again, the Comps News channel. This weekly webinar, and I just realized that weekly is missing its Y. This weekly webinar is there for you to help you to be able to just to learn about what's happening. And because real estate is constantly changing, I feel like it's important to provide you some kind of update each week to let you know, hey, this is happening. Did you know? Okay. So anyways, I will talk to you later, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you.